Monday, live on the City Breakfast Show. Also on Facebook on City 97.3 FM and live on MEST Africa's Facebook page as well. My name is Nathan Kwao. I'm your regular host for the session. So a few Mondays ago, we brought you the June edition. We are back with the July edition. Now, if you're listening to us for the very first time and you're wondering what Edtech Monday is, it's a platform for Edtech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, and government reps to facilitate critical conversations on the use of technology for teaching and learning. Now, the show is an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation's Regional Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning in ICT, and it's part of the foundation's strategy to find solutions to Africa's youth employment by closing the gap in access to quality education and advancing the integration of tech in education policies and practices across Africa. Edtech Monday builds on the foundation's Young Africa Work strategy in Ghana, and the vision is that by 2030, the country will be a continental demonstration of young people, especially women, harnessing opportunities to shape the future of work and to create an inclusive economy with enhanced resilience for the most vulnerable. So the MasterCard Foundation is partnered with MEST Africa, and then we bring you Edtech Monday on the last Monday of every month, live on radio and on social as well. Now, this month we are talking innovations driving efficiencies in education administration. Now, managing or administering education in Ghana is very important, but there have been many challenges, including the efficiencies in record keeping, communication, resource management. So today we'll be looking at exploring innovations that are driving efficiencies in education administration in schools across Ghana. And we have a very strong panel here to share thoughts, bring great ideas to life, and to offer some great suggestions on the way forward. I've got Mr. Fako Disu, is Deputy Director of Education, Schools and Instructions Division at the Ghana Education Service. Mr. Disu, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Thank you very much, Nathan. Happy to be here.
Right. Also on the panel, we've got Leanne Duarte. Leanne Duarte is she's the accelerator lead at ALX Ventures. Leanne, good morning and welcome to Edtech Monday.
Good morning, Nathan. Thank you so much.
All right. And finally, we have Dr. Emmanuel Kela Bimante, General Secretary to the Center for Professional Development, Training and Education. Doc, good morning. Welcome to Edtech Monday.
Good morning. Thank you very much. And also the Program Director for Inspiring Teaching.
Okay, let me add that. Program Director for Inspiring Teachers. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us. It's a pleasure having you around. Just in a minute or less, can you just tell us what you do in your various institutions? Doc, let me start off with you. So what do you do at the Center for Professional Development and Training and Education?
Right. Thank you very much. And good morning to our listeners forever, especially with the CPDT, inspiring teachers, and then everybody out there. Yeah, as I said, Inspiring Teachers Ghana is an incubation of a program for learners and for leaders. But these two companies, that is, we have CPDT Ghana, which is a service provider by NTC,
Okay.
where we train teachers to help them develop professional skills and then get their CDP points. And then we have Inspiring Teachers UK, who have partnered us to have Inspiring Teachers Ghana.
Okay.
And so we are basically looking at instructional leadership. We also look at foundational literacy, and then we have an app that brings us into the MEST issue. That we have an app that we use to also support teaching and learning. So all what I've said over here, we come operate in the app, and that is now helping our learners and leaders to also develop effectively.
Wonderful, wonderful. Thank you once again for joining us. Leah, you're with ALX. What exactly do you do? Your position is accelerator lead. What does that mean?
So that's ALX Ventures.
Okay.
I'll take you back a little bit.
Okay.
It's part of a group called the African Leadership Group.
Mhm.
And we actually started as a pre-university program in South Africa.
Okay.
And the academy is called African Leadership Academy.
Yeah.
And the goal was to think about how can we restructure education to build leaders for Africa's future.
Mhm.
So after the African Leadership Academy, we built the African Leadership University, which you may have heard of. So we
Yes.
have two campuses, one in Mauritius and one in Rwanda. And interesting, in our universities, we don't teach people to go after majors. We teach them to work on a mission.
Okay.
So once you start your university, what is your mission? And all the education you're getting is for you to fulfill a mission that's going to change the landscape of Africa. Then we realized that we can't give this opportunity to major or majority of the students in Africa because this is a brick and mortar institution. And that's when we embraced technology and we built ALX, which is an online learning platform. We teach hundreds of thousands of young Africans technology, things like digital skills, software engineering, cloud computing, all those technical skills. And so they're able to get that easily and in a short time and go to market. And when we were training all these young people, we realized that some of them are becoming entrepreneurs. They're not going into the traditional job market. And that's where ALX Ventures comes in, where we train young people in entrepreneurship. We use technology to help them to become entrepreneurs faster and to access investment. So it's a big body of education, and a big arm of it also is leveraging technology to create leaders of tomorrow.
Wow, wonderful. That's amazing. Finally, let me get to Mr. Disu. Mr. Disu, your position as Technical Director of Education, Schools and Instructions Division. What does that entail? What do you do on an average day?
Well, thank you very much for that intro, but I think there's a slight correction. Not a technical director, it's a deputy
director. So
Yes.
deputy director.
Yeah.
Deputy.
Right. So, Ghana Education Service is big. All the schools. So my division superintends teaching and learning and every other school-related activity or operation for pre-tertiary institutions in the country. So that is what we do. Our basic mandate is to ensure effective teaching and learning of pre-tertiary schools across the country. So that is where I work, and what I do, amongst other things, is to coordinate and support the intervention and deployment of Edtech solutions in our schools.
Okay.
Of course, emphasis is on pre-tertiary school, from basic to senior high school.
Wonderful. Let me stay with you. You get the ball rolling. What are some of the most impactful technological innovations currently being used when we are trying to administer or manage education in Ghana? Maybe you can give us some examples of schools or districts that have successfully adopted some of these things.
Thank you. Well, I would first of all talk about MEST. MEST is Education Management Information System.
Okay.
And as I indicated earlier, we are dealing with thousands of schools nationwide. And so in order to be able to manage and administer them very well, it is always key to ensure that you have the necessary or relevant figures right in terms of school enrollment, in terms of teacher staffing, in terms of school infrastructure, and all that. So basically, the MEST is a data system that captures these data points for use of policy makers and ensures direction as to how we manage and administer our schools. There is also MSRC, which is Mobile School Report Card,
Okay.
which also now operates in over 10,000 Gallup schools nationwide. And it also does a similar thing. And I think as we go on, we will elaborate further on some of these interventions. Thank you.
I see. Let me just stay with you and talk about how these have changed the day-to-day operations of school administrators.
All right. So with the MEST, for example, we have the data of school enrollment across board. And so if you are going to supply textbooks, for example, you know that you are going to rely on scientific data to do that. Okay, so let me dwell on the MSRC to address this point. So for example, there is a dashboard for the MSRC. We have national, regional, and district levels. GES, the structure.
Yeah.
All right. So at the district, you have the district directors of education and their team. So they have been given credentials that enables them at the click of a button, they are aware of what is going on in the schools. All right. So you can know, for example, which teacher is in school, and tax on time is also being monitored in real time. So you cascade it to the national office, and you have the director general also being able to access the platform and then get himself informed of whatever is happening in the schools.
I see.
Thank you.
Quite interesting. Leah, let me come to you. Let's talk about how reliable and secure some of these innovations are. We are talking about things like cloud-based solutions and all of that for managing school data. How reliable and secure are some of these innovations?
I think if we're looking at the solutions, an education institution is just like any other organization. So we have companies that are using the same cloud-based solutions. The data is sensitive, and we could be, we could get into things like ransomware or, hacking. So I believe that for any institution, whether you're an education or your organization that is maybe an enterprise, you have to look at, security. Antivirus, there's a lot of antivirus software, there's a lot of security protocols, and also there's solutions that you could use, for example, Google cloud services, which are inherently secure. So I think the question is not how reliable are they. The question is what measures do we take to make sure that our data is secure, our children's data is secure, our data is secure, and we're not prone to attacks. And even if we're prone to attacks, how do we secure ourselves? For example, also, how do we back up this data? So if we lose it in one way, we still have availability. And actually, that's why the cloud solutions are better. So let's say if you have an in-house server, but then you also have data on the cloud. If anything happens on ground, you still have the data. So how do you back up? How do you make sure you're secure? And how do you prevent the attacks in the first place? So reliability is, it's a give and take. It's technology and people are there to take advantage of it, but we can take the measures ahead to make sure that we are protected.
I see. Doc, you work with teachers and all of that. Let's talk about the transition, because some time back we would work with paper, pen, and you're filling out all these details, and now we had to move to this new age. How are teachers and administrators being trained to ensure that they can do that transition so they are not left behind, so they can use all these new technologies that are on the table these days?
Yeah, thank you very much. As you rightly said, it is something new, but now we're saying that we're in the 21st century. And so with 21st century skills, digital literacy, and all these things will also have to come to play. And everything that we need to do is also based on our education perspective. So our senior members here. So one, there is the need for targeted training. Recently, we hear government trying its best, providing laptops and other infrastructure for schools and colleges, universities, so that the network systems and all those things are being provided so that schools can have access to internet, even though there are challenges with it. But at least that is something key government is trying to do. So we need the online resources. We have various online resources, DES doing their own thing. Then also we have other ones which are international, something like OERs. They are all online resources that are available that I know with the colleges of education, for example, Ola College of Education, where I have been teaching for some 10 years now. They also try to go into these TESA OERs, and I've tried to train other colleges in Ghana so that the teachers can have access to these open education resources to help promote teaching and learning. Then there's a need for that mentor and peer support. In Ghana, we have something called BBC, born before computer. So some teachers are saying they were born before computer. And so moving into this technological era becomes a challenge for them. But at least we can mentor ourselves. The younger ones, currently in all colleges of education, they do ICT. And so various courses, some are doing full-time, some too. At least every student has an aspect of ICT to be done. And when that is done, I hope they also coming out would also help our BBCs to also develop what we're talking about here. The need for collaboration, coming together to do it. It is not somebody who has to do it. So inspiring teachers also coming here, where we also have an app, as I said at the beginning, this app which is called the Smart Coach. Currently, we're working with some private schools in the Cape Coast, the Central Region, about 16 schools. We are planning to even onboard 40 more schools, private schools, because we know majority of them are untrained teachers. And so the pedagogy and all those things that they also need, and the app is supporting them to do what we call the peer coaching. And so the peer coaching in there, they are learning how to deliver the pedagogy and other things. We have added an literacy aspect of it where we can do assessment with the app. And so with my phone, I can assess a learner fluency in literacy, reading, etc. So these are all things that we are doing in there to help promote whatever technological era we have gone into. Curriculum integration, yes. I have been saying this thing all the time that when I got to the university, I had access to a phone. But now in class 1, the child uses a phone. And so if that is something that we have now, then how do we also integrate that? And so now with our competencies, we are saying that teaching and learning should have digital literacy. Teachers are encouraged all the time to promote teaching and learning using all these tools. And I hope as it has started, we cannot just do it in a day, but little by little, it's a process. Okay, we shall get there.
Then let me just stay with you. You've talked about, the technology and the innovation from the side of the teacher. Let's look at it from the point of view of student engagement and parental involvement. Maybe you can tell us what impact these new things have done in terms of student engagement or getting parents involved in all of that from your perspective as a teacher.
Sure. With technology, it promotes personal learning, so personalized learning. Now, with or without a teacher, learning can take place because you go online there, whatever you're looking for, you can get some information. Maybe you may need an expert to help you understand it better, but at least the provision is available that you can have from online resources. Then some of these things are becoming very interactive when it comes to these MEST Edtech tools. Pedicabs and all the other fellowships that are in there are producing wonderful equipment that are attractive to learners. And so it might not be just playing, but as they interact with those things, they are reading, they are doing mathematics, they are learning. We have Deaf Can Talk. That is where you are using an app like those things. And then all these things are promoting teaching and learning, which is very, very necessary. Then access to the resources. They are available now. Currently, there is nothing that is hidden because except you don't want it. If you go and just click on the button, a lot of information will come out there for you. So I believe these are things that the learners themselves are going through. Now with the parents, communication has become very fluent because now with the phone, with the WhatsApp pages and all these things, parents can easily be brought on board. Then it also increases transparency. But where my sister was just talking about the data protection, which is something very important because we need to see to it that the data of the learners as they are going to other parents and the rest, you don't miss your target and create problems for them. It also helps parents to actively participate in educational activities. For example, as I talked about inspiring teachers, we, after our literacy program, we send reports to parents.
Okay.
So they track how their learners are progressing. And based on that, they can also make their inputs to know that really something is going on. So everything is now going digital. And we know that parents, learners, teachers, and everybody coming on board will help us get.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add to that when we talked about, the collaboration and technology enabling collaboration. It's interesting sometimes when your child comes home with assignments and maybe you're struggling with it, maybe you don't know what it is, but now there are tools. Or even as a teacher, sometimes you're teaching something and maybe the concept is old and the children are even like more up to date, So there are tools like AI. I saw there's one tech company in Ghana called Kwame AI, and that's a teacher's assistant.
Yes.
So it's a quick AI assistant that can help you to help the student if you're a teacher and you need to be up to date maybe in a certain topic. And that could also be for parents. So maybe someone develops something like, homework helper for parents, and I use artificial intelligence and I can easily help my son to do the homework without feeling embarrassed. So those are some of the things that, the technology tools and technology innovations can support in education. Yeah.
Let me stay with you, Leah. Let's talk about school funding because it's important. All of this is very cash intensive.
Yeah.
So how are schools funding all these innovations, and what about schools with limited budgets? How can they also benefit from all this great technology that's coming out?
That's an interesting question. So first, I think looking at partners who are interested in educational outcomes. You mentioned MasterCard, for example. ALX is partnered with MasterCard as well, and I think also having the GS here with their strength, they could also look for partners that fund the GES, and then this funding trickles down into the different schools to make their resources accessible. So there are partners out there who are willing to help. And the other thing is, I mentioned there's a lot of edtech entrepreneurs and innovations. So instead of these entrepreneurs operating independently, a school could actually buy that solution and customize it for themselves. So if it's a solution built in Ghana, it's more affordable, comparable to maybe something that I'm buying out of the US, which is another tech software. So there's also an opportunity there for us to look at what are the tech innovations by our young people in terms of entrepreneurship, and then how do we adapt them easily to the schools, like that Kwame AI. How do we easily have a Kwame AI in all the different schools, you know? So there's that opportunity where you look at a reduced cost to access this software, and there's also the opportunity where you look at international development partners that can fund the schools, either through an authority like GES or through direct intervention. Yeah. So I think those are the opportunities where you look for funding. But right now, there's still accessibility, you know, cost should not be a barrier.
Okay.
Yeah, the cost should not be a barrier. Yeah, and we could brainstorm. We have organizations that you could talk to if you're an educational institution and you're determined to do it. We could do it. Yeah.
I see. Wonderful stuff there. Mr. Disu, let's get back to you. Let's talk about the roles that policymakers and private sector, parents, educational leaders, what roles do they all play in facilitating the adoption of these new innovations or these new things we are talking about?
Right. Thank you very much. Well, policymakers, then you are talking about the national level and the impact thereof.
Yes.
So, for example, I'm aware that the Ministry of Education, under which we serve, has spearheaded the development of a draft ICT in education policy.
Okay.
Right, it's the draft, all right. And my information is that it is currently in Parliament and then en route to Cabinet, right? So as policy makers, the assignment is to set up the framework within which ICT and possibly EdTech interventions could be deployed to enhance teaching and learning with a view to improving learning outcomes. So that is the role of the policy maker, to set up the framework for the EdTech and ICT solutions to be deployed. And in doing this, the ministry engaged the different stakeholders that have various roles to play, including the parents, the teachers, and the student community as well. So having set up the framework and having gotten the ICT education in education policy passed, then there will be the need to engage parents, for example, to know their roles and their responsibilities in supporting their wards to take advantage of the potentials that the technology offers us in this day and age. Thank you.
Doc, let me come back to you. Let's talk about teachers and administrators and what their roles are as things are evolving. And maybe you can talk to us about continuous professional development, how we can ensure that people are always on top of their game and they are skilled enough to take on this new technology.
Thank you very much. Our current educational policy or whatever we're going on, so we have moved from objective-based curriculum to standard-based, where standard-based makes it more learner-centered. Yeah. So if it is learner-centered, then it's hands-on. So what we're trying to say over here, if things are evolving, the teachers are expected to move from content deliverers to facilitators. So this time they have to facilitate the learners, helping the learners to do things for themselves and not being the teachers, then giving lectures as we'll be having them. So that is one aspect of it, which I think the training is also going on and teachers are abreast with that. Then we have to have a data-driven instruction. Usually everything is paperwork and we are not getting the things the way we want them to be. But now if we are adding technology, the teachers should be ready to have everything analyzed. So that if you're talking about something, you have the data to support whatever you say and whatever you do. So that all these things will help to identify learning gaps and also be able to adjust the teaching strategies to meet them. We have some learners with disabilities who are also in the system, and all these things that talk about inclusivity. So if we are including them, then we need our data to know who is where, at what level is that learner, and what can we do to support everybody. All what I say is that everybody, every learner, no one should be left behind, and they should all be helped to achieve their potential. And so if my potential is to this level, I should get there. If yours is to that level, you should get there. How can teachers do that? And I believe these are all things that are being done. Teachers should be tech savvy educators. Is all right. What I'm trying to say here is that they should be proficient in using the various educational technologies, including the learning management system, the online assessment tools, interactive softwares, and all those things. And they should be comfortable with it. Like GES is doing now, they have the, what do you call them? The MIS, a lot of things that you're putting out there. But if the administrators, if the teachers are not conversant with those tools, how do they do it? But I know workshops are being run day in and day out. And so as those things are going on, it's going to help them to also achieve. Now we should collaborate. Collaborative learners. Teachers should come together, administrators, and all the experts, so that all these things can also move on very effectively. The administrators themselves, also, yes, it's the same thing. As we are talking about the teachers, they themselves too, some were also born before computer. So they are also struggling to go through it. And so they also would have to get all the information that we have said. And so everybody should learn to be a technology champion. So to become technology champions is also going to help us to achieve greater heights as a nation.
Wonderful. You're listening to Edtech Monday, the July edition. This morning, our topic is innovations driving efficiencies in education administration. And my guests are still here. Mr. Fa Kodisu, Deputy Director of Education, Schools and Instructions Division, Ghana Education Service. Leah Nduati, Accelerator Lead at ALX Ventures. And Dr. Emmanuel Kela Abimante, he's the General Secretary at the Center for Professional Development, Training and Education. And he's also the Programs Director of Inspiring Teachers Ghana. We've been having a great conversation. Let's take our Vox Pop. It's a regular feature of what we do on Edtech Monday. This morning we'll be hearing from Mrs. Esme Winfield. She is a proprietress, Jane Montessori School. So that tells you that she's an administrator or a manager, if you like. Also sharing her thoughts on today's topic, innovations driving efficiencies in the administration of education in Ghana.
Innovations impacting on education these days, it's made a huge difference for us when we were in school compared to now. Because of the digital system, it's easier to research, Google, do all that you have to do. Sometimes you need to refer to the internet to do other things. Use it in teaching as well as the children even need to learn it. So it's made a huge difference in education these days. Data in our part of the world is expensive. So if it can be reduced a bit, I think it will help a lot, because these days, everything that you have to do is bordered on data. And then sometimes, for instance, last week like this, there was a surge and then everybody was in trouble last Saturday. So if you can have a constant data supply, everything will be fine. For us to make sure that innovations in administration support education, we need to put in all the checks and balances. The teachers must be up and doing by training and then doing their research as and when it's done. They should also make the students their student-centered lessons, so that the students are more prioritized when using the innovations that have been set for the school. So for educational institutions to make sure that the innovations do not hinder the learning processes, the learners should be more centered. The teachers should also be able to make sure what they are supposed to do, they are doing it right. So it should be more effective and efficient, and then student centered. That's the most important thing, so that it doesn't hinder the education.
So that was Mrs. Esme Winfield, proprietress, Jane Montessori School, also sharing her thoughts on all these innovations that are driving efficiencies in education administration. My guests are still here. Yeah, Doc, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, thank you. You were talking about the professional development, that's the continuous professional development aspect of teaching and learning. Yes. Now, when you come to the public schools in Ghana, right now, from the basic to the secondary schools, colleges of education, every school is expected that a week a day in a week is assigned for professional development,
Okay.
where teachers come together to learn, to upgrade themselves. You know, now the world is dynamic, things are changing, and we also need to change. John Dewey said something that if we continue to teach our learners the way we were teaching 10 years ago, then we are denying them of the future. So we cannot be doing what we were doing some years ago. We need to also be dynamic and to be changing. And so that targeted training is very good at helping. Now we have blended learning, where the teachers are also going through all these things to help them to do online teaching, and then they can do face-to-face. That is going on. Mentorship, as we have already said, with inspiring teachers, we have what we call the peer coaching. And so with peer coaching, we have in the years, we also talk about critical friends. And so critical friends, every teacher will have a critical friend. You sit in the lesson of the person, see what is going on, then you can guide and give some advice. There's something very innovative and very good too. Because in Tree, we say that so if you are with a friend or somebody, he also sees what you are doing and can say that, oh, if I've done it this way or that way. So right from the planning to the delivery, then you have the reflection. And that is very good. Then the resources, if they're available, I think they work on them. But one thing we want to talk to our big men is that some incentives can come to those we see are actually putting the technological issues into perspective.
Okay.
Because I always say that at times people or teachers will attend workshops, but they come back and they virtually don't do anything about what they have learned. So if we can make the follow-ups, like we said, the data-driven, and then we get to see some of these ones who are actually using the tools to work, then we can encourage them. Not necessarily money, but at least anything that can be done for the person to say that, wow, I've been recognized that I'm using these tools is very good. Then I also always talk about this fact that head teachers should learn to own some of these policies that comes. Usually when it comes, it's like, oh, it's the government who have bought it. And so PLCs attend them, they become reluctant. But if you see that, yeah, this is something beneficial, it's going to help me, then you own it. So you rather even be calling. No new, is there anything new that we can add on? I think these are some things that we have to do. Then we need to sustain them, sustainability. It shouldn't just be a 9-day wonder. We start, then it ends there. So I think these are some key things. If we put it into our professional learning development, it will be very helpful. Thank you.
Mr. DC, you want
I wanted to add to what Doc said early on regarding to continuous professional development of teachers. And earlier, he also alluded to the fact that some of our colleagues, if I can use that word, describe themselves as born before computer. And so perhaps shy away from innovations given or offered by technology. I think we are all aware that our Minister, Honorable Dr. Yawase Educhum, is very passionate about STEM education and linking it up to the professional learning communities, which is a day set aside in every week for teachers from the basic schools to the senior high schools to come together and then interact and then find efficient and innovative ways of
education.
Delivering impactful lessons. So it is part of the ministries and GES's directive that during these PLC sessions, the ICT, in every school we have ICT teachers and ICT coordinators. So they take advantage of the PLC to support their colleague teachers in deploying the use of ICT and enabled solutions in order to make learning fun and real, and therefore participatory for our learners. So that is what I wanted to add to what he said. And of course, he also mentioned critical friend. I think we need to educate our audience about this. So in a typical PLC session, for example, you have
for the uninitiated, what's a PLC?
PLC is a professional learning community.
Okay.
And it is one avenue by which the system, MOEGS, has provided for teachers to improve their professional skills. And then in the process, they also earn points towards their upgrading and so on. So in this session, we are coming together. Let's say we are all on the same staff.
Yeah.
And so there's a subject a topic in a particular subject, if I'm the lead, then I will facilitate the session, highlighting the essential points or strategies that you can use to deliver that session effectively. And so amongst us, let's say, Mr. Host, Nathan, you will be my critical friend.
Okay.
So as I'm facilitating, you are observing and you take notes.
Mhm.
So at the end of it all, then we come one-on-one. This you did well, that you didn't do well. I think you could have done this better, and so on and so forth. So this is what is happening in our schools, right from basic schools to
Colleges of
colleges of education. Thank you.
I see, wonderful. Leah, let me come back to you. Let's talk about all these innovations in education administration and how they prepare students for the future of work. Because what you do really is to get people ready for the world of work.
Yeah, it's like you read my mind. What he was saying about teachers being facilitated and teaching young people to learn by doing and to learn by themselves. It's what is reflecting now. Now we have what we call the gig economy. Most young people are not going into direct employment. They are taking gigs here and they are doing online jobs.
Yeah.
There's all these workplaces online where you register your skills and people can hire you to do a job and pay you. So if, for example, from basic school and you finish secondary school and you have a really good skill in IT and you're able to do it, you can actually start earning money before you go to university or before you go to college by just inserting yourself in the gig economy. So I think using these innovations and teaching our young people how to learn by themselves, how to harness that knowledge, so as a teacher, for example, my work is to prompt you like, okay, how do you do this? Go and find out, or go and learn, or Google and then come back and let's discuss it. And maybe use AI and discuss more, or, interact with AI and all this gamified learning to come up with solutions. So you become a very solution-oriented individual and you can go into the job market faster. So I think it's in line with the future of work today, where people are not being employed to go and sit in an office from morning to evening. There are also some of them remote workers. So you have to sit at home, manage your time, use technology to deliver what your boss is expecting of you or what your company is expecting of you and getting paid. So I think it's all in line. And one way to look at it as institutions is, what are the outcomes? How are we enabling these young people to get into the job market? And I like that we use technology, because then you can track the data and then you can track the impact of where your young people are ending up and what jobs are they getting, which is one of the things also we do with Mastercard Foundation. Is we want to find out from the time the student enters the institution to the point they finish, where are they ending up? What job are they doing? How much are they making? How is that income improving the livelihoods of the people around them? So there's a way, because of technology, that we can track all this impact, track the learning outcomes of our students, and then also track how they're able to enter the job market.
Okay. Doc and Mr. Disu, we can answer this question. Let's talk about these innovations and how they could potentially affect employment opportunities within the educational sector, the education sector in Ghana. I don't know whether, Doc, you want to go first or Mr. Disu.
Yeah, thank you very much. I don't know what you want to mean by how it affects, but to me, it's positive.
Okay.
Yes, it's a positive thing that goes on. Like my sister rightly said, it's a blend. But just that we don't have to say, because we are moving technologically, we are disowning all the others who were doing. It should be a blend being here. And so it enhances whatever we're doing. I think 2-3 weeks ago, we went for this Edtech conference in Abuja. I was there, but I was communicating with my people back in Cape Coast.
Okay.
And work was going on. That's our technology still at play. So even though I was outside the place for about a week, I still communicated with my people and the work went on smoothly. And so I believe it's a blend that we need to work to enhance it and not to see it as negative. Usually we see the negative side because internet connectivity, data, those are challenges too. But if we look at the positive sides, then we move ahead.
Okay. Mr. Disu?
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you can add a comment.
Yeah. So regarding employment for teachers, right?
Or employment opportunities within the sector.
All right. So in GES, for example, in the past, you if you are looking for employment in GES, you would have to apply field forms and then submit your application letters and so on. But we have evolved, and so now everything is done online. All right. So I'm happy to report to your audience. For example, that the 2022 graduates from our colleges of education, for example, they've been recruited, and those who were successful did what we call the self-posting model. Now, how does this work? In the past, when teachers are recruited, their names are sent to the regional directors, who will in turn assign them to the respective districts where they want to teach, and they'll be posted. Now, with technology, they sit in the comfort of their homes, wherever they can access online, and then the teacher recruitment portal, self-placement. So all the schools in Ghana where they declared vacancies were advertised. And so once you go through the system and you've been shortlisted, then you have access to the schools with the vacancies. So it is now up to you to select where it's convenient for you to teach. All right. And so that was done. This is very recent.
Yeah.
And the reports we had from our director general is that on the first day of that exercise, as much as 9,000 teachers went through the process. And by the time they were done, they had printed out their appointment letters. So, I mean, it tells you the efficiency at work and the advantages we can derive from some of these innovations.
Yeah, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I'm just impressed because then the teacher doesn't feel like they were forced to go somewhere.
They chose where
they wanted to go, yes. But I also wanted to add that, adding all these technological innovations in education is not a threat to, a teacher's calling or a teacher's job. First of all, I think being a teacher is a calling.
It's a calling. Yes.
A teacher is a teacher. So the thing that the teachers need to understand is technology now is very easy to use, because we have a lot of emphasis on, easy to use, user friendly. So a lot of technology is easy to use. Like this process that he just explained, which was very complex, has now been simplified. So the teachers need to be enabled to understand that this is coming to make your life easier. This is coming to enable you to become a better teacher, which is essentially your calling. So I think that's just the mind shift that needs to happen, and maybe just a calling for the junior education. Maybe they need to also look at how they compensate the teachers. So maybe we find a way to really fund this process, fund the infrastructure, which is the accessibility and the reliability of the internet, but also make sure that we reward the teachers, because our children are spending most of the time with these teachers. The teachers are facilitating the learning for us to have better outcomes for the whole country and the whole economy. Yeah.
Wonderful. Let's just do our final question. We can take concluding comments after that. Leah, let me take your thoughts on which emerging technologies do you believe will have probably the most significant impact on education administration in the next 10 years?
All right. Okay. In the next 10 years and now, I think definitely the cloud technology, being able to store our data and have our data on cloud, and also e-learning, enabling e-learning environments for our students. So any e-learning platforms or e-learning softwares that we blend where the teacher facilitates, that's also important. And like I mentioned, artificial intelligence, that cannot be ignored. Already our children are using it.
Yeah.
And then the teachers are taking it like, oh, this children did all their assignments or using AI. But we need to understand that AI is also an enabler, makes things efficient. So it also changes the landscape. Right now, there's jobs called prompt engineering, which is how do you engage with the AI tool to get the best outcomes. So we also need to understand that these tools, we use them to educate our children, but also it's a tool for them to get jobs in the future. So I think e-learning platforms becoming more enhanced, cloud services where all your admin is on the cloud, and then artificial intelligence. Those are technologies that we need to look at for the next 10 years.
Okay, Mr. Disu, do you have anything to add? Which technology do you think will have the most impact?
Well, of course, as the expert in the space has said, I'll align with that. Yes, of course, AI is there, and we have big data and so on, and then the cloud. So, and then learning. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Doc, you?
So what I'll just add to it is, as they have all these things in place, we still need information. But how do you tweak it to make it appropriate for whatever? Because AI will just give some information, but you would also have to know how to manage it. That is where the live teacher would also have to come in there to guide the learners to be able to make it. Because I believe it is becoming very helpful.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. So the teacher is really at the heart of everything.
Sure.
Really, and we've highlighted the fact that they need to be groomed and trained and nurtured and skilled. Concluding thoughts. I mean, any other thing you want to add before we wrap it up? Well, Leah, Mr. Disu, any thoughts?
Well, thank you. I would say that we can't shy away from the advantages offered by technology. And so we in the education space, we have embraced it and we are deploying it to the best of our ability, and we support from our GPs like UNICEF and organizations like Leah's own. I believe from here we will engage and we'll see how we can collaborate. So, for example, I would say that in Milo Krobos Senior High School, for instance, they have automated their systems and each student has a card, and that makes life on campus very easy and convenient for them. And so we are exploring ways of upscaling these innovations to some of the senior high schools. And in some of the schools too, in the past, when you go to work, you report to school as a teacher, you have to sign in a notebook and so on. But now some of the schools, for example, I know Asantoa and a few of the other schools have gone automated. And so you just log in and your attendance is checked. And all of these are improving performance and learning outcomes in our schools.
I see.
So the future is technology, and it looks bright for Ghana education. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Yeah. But I also want to say that the road to effective implementation of technological innovations in Ghanaian education administration have the potential to revolutionize learning and also improve parental involvement, but not without its challenges, I should say. But however, with targeted training, strategic partnerships, focus on ensuring access and support, with ethical considerations, also by embracing continuous professional development and equipping educators with the necessary skills and resources, fostering it is possible for maximizing their impact and ensuring equitable access to a quality education for all schools and learners. Thank you very much.
Leah, do you have concluding comments?
Yeah, just to say thank you, like even for MasterCard and MEST and CDFM to allow this conversation to happen, to also discover what the GS is doing and the Ministry of Education is doing so far. The role of the teacher will still remain the most pivotal, but yeah, technology is among us. We cannot fight it. It's part of our lives now.
Right.
So we just need to adapt and move on and improve everyone's life.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's been a very insightful conversation with my guest, Mr. Fakor Disu, Deputy Director of Education, Schools and Instructions Division of the Ghana Education Service, Leon Duarte, Accelerator Lead at ALX Ventures, and Dr. Emmanuel Kela Bimante, General Secretary at the Center for Professional Development, Training and Education, and also the Program Director of Inspiring Teachers Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. We appreciate that, and all the best in your endeavors.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
And thank you all there for listening to the July edition of Edtech Monday, live on the City Breakfast Show, City 97.3 FM, and also live on Facebook at City 97.3 FM and MEST Africa's Facebook page. We had a conversation on innovations driving efficiencies in education and education. I'd like to thank my guests once again. It was an honor having them. And thank you out there for listening. We'll be back next month with another exciting edition of Edtech Monday. Remember, Edtech Monday is a platform for Edtech entrepreneurs, education stakeholders, and government reps to facilitate Critical Conversations on the Use of Technology for Teaching and Learning. And it's an initiative of the MasterCard Foundation's Regional Center for Innovative Teaching and Learning and ICT, and part of the foundation strategy to find solution to Africa's youth employment by closing the gap in access to quality education and advancing the integration of technology in education policies and practices across Africa. My name is Nathan Kwa, and I hosted the session. And we are back in August for another one, the last Monday of August. So mark your calendars and make a date, because it will be another 1 hour of learning, taking in knowledge, and embracing technology for the advancement of teaching and learning in Ghana.
This is a City Breakfast Show.